Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about a story that I think was interesting to me for the main reason that every so often on social media we see a story go viral where there's usually a really loving husband or a husband who went above and beyond, and it's usually a husband because I'm not going to get into gender politics, but are women given the same type of applause as men when they accomplish the same things? In my opinion, no. I think the reactions are different. Different story, but anyway, anytime I see stories like that where husbands are being applauded for being fantastic as much as it can be wholesome or whatever, it also makes me feel uncomfortable because I'm like, there's always that inkling, that feeling that there's something dark behind it, like someone's overcompensating for something, and maybe that's me being pessimistic, which is just my natural state. But you have to wonder also, because by putting this person on a pedestal, usually it doesn't end well because nobody can live up to this angelic image of perfect husband who did everything. And at some point that will fall apart, which is why anytime I see someone being super hyped, as much as it's nice to see, there's also the knowledge of this will probably not end well. Anyway, this is how the feel-good story of America's quote-unquote kindest husband devolved into a twisted murder case. These people are put on pedestals and we don't even know who they really are, aside from the fact that they built their girlfriend an engagement ring from scratch, or whatever it is that this week we think makes someone the best husband, boyfriend, whatever. A man once dubbed America's kindest husband for making a gushing 15-point list of reasons he loved his wife is now suspected of murdering her after he was jailed for life for a shocking crime against a teen, according to the slain woman's family and loved ones. Timothy Murphy Johnson, 40, went viral for writing loving messages on his bedroom mirror so they would be seen by his wife, Molly, before she died in 2017 of what was initially suspected to be a drug overdose during a breakdown. But Murphy Johnson was given a life sentence last month for drugging and holding a 16-year-old girl captive. And Molly's family believe there are eerie similarities with her death, the Times of London reported. This is obviously horrific, but this is also what I mean when we see things on social media. I do think there are certain things we need to take at face value, because realistically, are we going to know if someone's the world's best husband? No. So we take the wholesomeness of it all. But again, I really do feel like when it becomes extremely viral, most of the time, I'm not going to say there's a negative effect in the sense of going extremely viral for being nice will actually make you evil. No. But I do think that can, first of all, get to people's heads, where just having thousands of strangers say how great you are, that can get to any person's head, I'd think. But aside from that, it's again the question of overcompensating, and it's again the question of why is this being documented? I have no problem with things being documented for social media, but we do have to question the intention behind it, right? Because even things that we've seen with, family vloggers, sometimes you can just tell that they're doing it for the brownie points, right? So there's also the question of that. Now, do I think it's nice that he put a list on the mirror with things he loved about his wife? Yes, I do think that's nice. Again, you have to wonder, why was this being documented for social media? It's okay, but the intention matters. Murphy Johnson, a UK-born computer game designer, met Molly on the online dating site OkCupid in 2012, but her friends and family quickly became skeptical of their relationship following her death. Before she died, Molly had disclosed to friends that her husband had allegedly raped her and forced her into prostitution as part of an abusive and manipulative marriage, they say. He reportedly threatened to kill his wife with an overdose and stage it as a suicide. Molly had also claimed in a court filing obtained by the outlet, "He threatened to kill me and make it look like a suicide, physically assaulted me by kicking my back/stomach, punching my head/arms, pushing me down, and stealing my purse, money, and phone to prevent me getting away," the court doc read. "I believe Tim either provided her with drugs or forced her to take them," Molly's childhood friend Anna Marie Anderson told the outlet. "She was brilliant, extremely educated on medication and drugs, and in my opinion, she would not go out that way." Molly's loved ones believe Murphy Johnson manipulated her as she had gone from completing her degree in mass communications at San Jose State University and enrolling for a master's degree to dropping out and moving to San Francisco for her husband's job. So here are some examples of the lists that he would make for her, which again, I think the concept is cute. Just, you know, especially in an abusive relationship, it's also the question of, are they doing this to make up for something, or are they doing this just because they genuinely love you and want to show you something, you know? That's also the thing about these nice gestures, is sometimes, unfortunately, it's all just damage control. Her father, Bob Gelman, told the UK paper that his daughter had twice asked him to quote-unquote rescue her from her husband despite her seeming devotion to him. Molly was a bright, beautiful, and talented young woman, Gelman said. The couple moved to Los Angeles when Murphy Johnson got another job, but Molly disappeared when she checked herself into a mental hospital in an attempt to get away from her husband. So this is the thing also. Now, I'm not going to blame family. I don't know what the situation there was, but all the red flags are here, right? The sole concept that you would need to be rescued from your partner, we're already beyond any red flag. That's well, ideally the end of a marriage. Abusive relationships are not easy to just leave, so let's be clear about that. But the sole fact that that was happening makes him being a murder suspect so much more likely, or like, it's so much more likely that he did have some foul play to do with this. Because, you know, usually they almost always immediately doubt the spouse by default, right? But in this case, I really think there's a reason why. Also, the concept of checking herself into a mental hospital, I think, is terrifying, because it's not just, you know, you had a casual little fight with your partner and you just want to get away and go and hang out with your girlfriends for the night, you know, which is a relatively quote-unquote normal thing in the sense of that doesn't have to be abusive, right? If you're in the state where you're checking yourself into a mental hospital due to something that's going on with your partner, the problem is far deeper. It's not spending a night over at your girlfriend's. It's, in my opinion, cyclical, and cyclical enough that it's going to become a bigger problem than it already is. Molly was forced to quit her job when she could no longer cover her cuts and bruises. Sadly, Tim managed to sweet talk her into returning to him, Gelman said. She told me he was pimping her out, having her have sex with other men for money. Friends investigating Murphy Johnson's abuse discovered she appeared in sexually explicit images on several adult content websites and was advertised as an escort, naughty nerd, and college-educated Mensa member, the Society for People with High IQs. Now, this is a different level of evil, the whole pimping out thing, and if this is effectively what I think it is, if it was emotionally abusive, if he was emotionally manipulative, which it seems like is relatively a confirmed fact, convincing her to put herself out there outside of their relationship in that type of way is horrific, not from a judgment of sex work as much as it's obviously being forced into sex work, which is the issue, but it's also like, this is probably not something she wanted to do if she didn't do it before out of her own volition. But it's like, this is so dangerous. Her as an escort, do I believe he was doing due diligence and checking who she was going with, how long she was out for? Like, that's what I also think is dangerous. The fact that none of this, in my opinion, probably was at all quote unquote regulated, aside from the obvious, like I said, she was forced into it, so that automatically makes it a problem. But he was already gambling with her life there, because there could be a serial killer asking for an escort. Like, obviously you can't find everything in background checks, but that's very different from doing no checks. Molly photographed the bruises she sustained and told her friends she wanted a divorce, but was allegedly threatened by her husband. He, Murphy Johnson, just offered me some drug that will kill me so I can get it over with already. Guess I'll just make it easier for us both, she wrote to one friend according to screenshots. In other messages, she claimed that Murphy Johnson loses his shit and had been taking carfentanil, a synthetic opioid even more potent than fentanyl. Jesus. When Molly was eventually discovered dead inside her bedroom on December 16th, 2017, her death was ruled an overdose. With all of this evidence, it's crazy to me that they would rule it an overdose. I mean, granted, it could have been. Murphy Johnson, who had alerted cops to his wife's death, announced her passing in a post on Facebook just hours later. My wife, my best friend, the most amazing, gorgeous, beautiful, troubled soul I've ever known, passed away from mental illness on Saturday morning, hours after being discharged from a mental health service that failed her, he wrote. He also told her loved ones that she'd left a suicide note, friends claimed. One of Molly's ex-boyfriends claimed to her father that Murphy Johnson had also tried to have her cremated immediately, but he insisted on there being an autopsy. There is nothing here that makes this guy look good. There is not one singular thing that makes me have a shred of hope that this guy is clear of anything. All of this is not only extremely suspicious, but very on the nose, especially with documented things like trying to get a cremation, texting people, like, that's crazy. Her death ended up being ruled an accident given the levels of fentanyl found in her system was less than half usually detected in suicide victims the autopsy found. The report did not have a response from Murphy Johnson or his lawyers. However, one of his family members dismissed the allegations that he could be involved in his wife's death as baseless. Molly had a serious drug addiction to fentanyl, as well as depression and a history of suicide attempts. Tim saved her life on more than one occasion, so I don't believe he killed her, the identified relative told the UK paper. To be frank, they both thought the other was trying to kill them. It was chaos. It was a sad, toxic mess. Two people with deadly drug addictions and mental illness for one terrible relationship, the relative said. He did love her very much, and her death is what led to him descending into madness. I can't make excuses for anything Tim has done. I believe he suffers from serious mental health issues, the relative said. Of course, if there is any evidence to back up a claim that Murphy Johnson was involved in Molly's death, then it should obviously be sent to authorities. That's where that is now. Honestly, I would be interested in the police, if they haven't already, going through all of their text messages, stuff like that, even just to see there what the relationship was like. Because yeah, it was a toxic mess, but did the toxic mess go too far in the sense of her overdosing? Did it go too far in the sense of him helping her overdose, aka killing her? You know, like, the fact that it was a toxic mess and it seems like there was trouble on both sides obviously is one thing, but I don't think that we can or should use that to discount the possibility that even within a toxic mess, it doesn't mean that someone who was mentally ill just decided to kill themselves. Like, there are other options as well, so I think it should just be looked into without coming to any particular conclusion, though I will say he seems guilty as fuck to me, but that's that on that. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to my patrons as always, and we'll catch you guys next time.